All right, welcome to another video, guys. We are back home. I'm back home, guys. This is kind of my old stomping ground where I used to film a lot of videos and kind of the start to New England Pete. So again, not a very sentimental thing, but it is kind of a cool fact that, you know, this is where everything started. Right away, I mean, you guys can tell I'm driving through town right now, and typically I would drive in aggressive, annoying mode and, you know, piss off all the locals, right? I'm gonna show you guys how quiet this car and how livable this car can really be. So right now I'm in my comfort setting. I don't really drive in any other modes except for comfort or race. If I'm, you know, thinking if I'm maybe sick of comfort mode, then I put in maybe normal or eco, but I'm not gonna lie, I mean, there's no reason to use any other modes. This kind of comfort and race sort of tackled the things that I'm looking for in my driving experience, especially with the springs being as kind of stiff as they are, or maybe just the, you know, the wheels. I'm not gonna just blame the springs. The springs are fine, but it's my wheel setup, and you know, it's winter time, so everything's just cold, stiff, and kind of uncomfortable to drive on. But anyway, hopefully we don't see many more of that. Yeah, anyway, guys, you know, pretty quiet, pretty tame. It's a stage 2 car. This thing has a full exhaust. I'm gonna make sure start stop is off because I hate start stop. I understand I can go through OBD11 and turn it off, but I hate OBD11 too. I've had a bit of an issue with OBD11. So yeah, I'm gonna just have to figure that out myself. But yeah, so I don't like start stop. If I could just disable it forever, I will. So I might utilize a couple buddies OBD11. Mine is just not working, so that's just the issue I'm facing. So it's kind of annoying, but guys, listen, all I hear is road noise and a little hum of exhaust, a little bit of a hum. It's not that bad. Again, if you know, this is, again, valves closed. I'm just gonna put in manual mode just so you can get an idea what this thing does sound like, sort of through the lower RPMs in the rev range. The only thing you can really, I mean, yes, you can hear the exhaust, not gonna lie, but you know, you can hear the induction more, and that's one of the cool things about this car, is it just makes all the right noises, you know, from front and the rear. So when you open the valves, yeah, it's quite a madman. So but yeah, so you know, typically when I'm in race crazy mode, I put, you know, I usually have the screen on as to what it is now, the performance monitor, just so I can see my oil temperatures, and I don't ever care about what the boost says. Sometimes if I'm bored, I'll just scroll through G meter, but the only things you really should ever have here is your coolant temps and your oil temperature. So that's kind of what I do. But we got a little bit of a stretch of road in front of us, and I'm kind of feeling lucky as far as the cop sitch. So we're in race mode now. I'm gonna enlarge the gauges, which is, if you're on your map screen, you just hit OK and it actually will enlarge them, show kind of more of that info. But we'll turn off traction, why not, and we'll give it the means. Oh my God, there's people over there. I don't want to piss them off, but guys, this car is so fun. It's just a little, oh, they're doing photos. Oh, and I this car is my favorite car. I mean, I've only owned the GTI in this thing, so I've only really been exposed to, you know, the two cars, but I've been very fortunate. I've been able to drive a fair amount of stuff. Not a lot of the newer stuff, so you know, obviously I know a lot of the newer cars coming out. The Mark 8R, haven't driven that. I know that's better than this car. I just know. But it's way more expensive. You know, if you want a similar example, you know, I think you're going to be spending at least 15K, or maybe 10 to 15 over what this car costs, and maybe it's worth it. Maybe I haven't driven it, but this car is really good. And yeah, it's a little dated. I mean, this is technically a Mark 7, which, you know, in Europe, I believe the R was released in, I think, 2015 everywhere, maybe 2014 in Europe. So it's an older car. I mean, it's an old platform. The MQB platform isn't as new as it once was. So, you know, it's maybe a little dated, but you know, what can I say? It's still a really great package, and I can't really knock it. you know, the power. I wouldn't want any more power. You know, the reason why I would go upgraded turbo is just if I had any doubts of this turbo going, and by going I mean blowing up, it wouldn't, you know, obviously detonate my engine and so on. So I don't, you know, I just don't want anything going into the engine. And that being said, guys, make sure, and I mentioned this in my mod overview, but make sure you're doing your spark plugs at least every 10K, and if you're really feeling it, you could do it every 5. But the reason being, and the reason why my GTI blew up was because of, unfortunately not my ownership. You know, that would have been very annoying, and that would have put us very far back as far as videos goes. But yeah, it's spark plugs. These engines eat spark plugs, and you know, it's just what it is, especially on, I would say entirely when you're tuned. If you're running stock plugs, you could probably go a pretty decent, you know, stock plug, stock tune. You don't have to really worry about that, but definitely when you're tuned, look into doing your plugs fair amount. As far as recommendations, I'm not going to answer that question. I know a lot of people are looking for answers on that. I don't really know what to tell you. I'm actually still looking for kind of the right plug myself. I actually bought APR plugs, but they were so tightly gapped, and as I was re-gapping them, I nicked one, and like, I'm not risking it. I'd rather just get the pre-gapped and kind of call it a day. So I'm running NGK upgraded plugs now. They're ever so slightly, I think colder would be the word, than the OEM plugs, but they're very similar to the OEM plugs, which the way I drive it, I don't, you know, beat it up every day, so I don't need, you know, the craziest plug. And I know that there's sometimes an issue if you run a plug that's way too cold. So yeah, that's kind of just my thinking. I don't drive this car hard enough where I need that. The only thing I guess you could, you know, blame me for is I do like the pops a lot. So I find myself kind of just cruising at like around this RPM when I'm just cruising, just so I can hear the pops. If that doesn't earn an unsubscribe, I don't know what would. I know a lot of people don't like the pops, and I do it, like, I get it. I understand why you don't, and I kind of understand where you're coming from. However, these engines sound so bad, and I want something that kind of just spice it up a little bit instead of just hearing this thing at like 3K where it has that notorious, you know, E888 drone. So annoying. This is, out of 4 cylinders, I don't think it's the worst sounding one, but it's a 4-cylinder, so it does not sound that great. And that's why I recommend so many people to just get a very similar exhaust setup to mine. For catback, you should not get anything aside from a Miltech or a Remus. You're wasting money if you don't. And I know a lot of people like the AWE, but that exhaust is so muted, and maybe that's a good thing, I don't know. But the DSG cracks just sound not at all good on that. It's missing kind of that raspiness that some of these are, but it's pleasant raspiness, if that makes sense. I just don't think it's that, you know, an AWE costs ever so slightly more, or sorry, cheaper than a Remus and a Miltech. I think you should just spend the extra and just get a Miltech or Remus. The construction is way better. It's plug-and-play valves. I think it's AWE switch path, so you have to route a wire. Why do that? Just use the OEM one. I know a lot of people like the AWE, so whatever. You know, I totally get it. That's your thing, but I will not ever consider running an AWE or something like that on this car when there are better options. I'm not saying AWE is bad. I'm just saying there's better options. So take that for what it's worth. I think we'll turn around because we have a little bit of a Karen squadron in front of us that don't seem to have some pep in their step. So maybe for our drive back, we'll do less chit chat, more kind of drive. And yeah, cool. So I'm gonna kind of shut up a little bit more. I'll tell you guys if something is worth noting, but yeah. So this car, really happy with it. Obviously, IE's done a great job with tuning it. And you guys will see kind of yeah, what it's like to drive, kind of where it's at right now. So I'll shut up and you guys get to enjoy some driving.